Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, Mana Traders, as well as Twitch subs and Patreon supporters just like you. I'm Evan Irwin. We get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Power Dragon.
What's up, everybody? And if you missed the pre-show, you missed a pile of great conversation.
we do the good talking here early. Ruben Bressler.
We didn't talk about our favorite movies for once. We went deep into the business. That was pretty good. I hope everybody enjoys this bomber jacket that I have on today. It's a little cold in my condo, so
it's giving Rocketeer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm trying to be cast in the next edition of Tailspin.
You can be Baloo. It'll be great.
That's right.
Yeah, be a funny guy. Super duper cool. Now, if you missed our pre-show, patrons and subs to this channel get access to that extended version early, and we kick it off with our first pick and our code push. Check out, use promo code MAGICMICS to get 5% off anything at CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock, anything you want. Booster boxes, singles, pre-orders, whatever.
Now, how many days could I do that?
Every day.
Every single day?
Every single day. Every order.
Every time you order.
Unbelievable.
Every order. There you go. And you guys have been using it, which I super duper appreciate. So keep supporting the channel. Use that promo code. Save some money, which we appreciate. And of course, we'll support your favorite streamer with your suggestions and in the show to see who we raid tonight. Thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, where you find cool stuff in stock every day. And we get to the first pick. And the first pick this week is where Wizard steps in it. And it's funny when you say that and they go, okay, wait, which step in it did they do? Well, this one was about AI artwork used in some advertisements. And this kind of barreled out of control pretty quickly. I'm going to bring up on the screen here a image so you guys can check it out if you're watching via the stream. And this was what they posted. It's positively shocking how good these lands look in retro frame. And they had the retro Shocklands in the old frame. It looked really cool. And people started kind of picking apart this weird little image. And they were like, these bulbs don't look right. And this gauge is weird when you zoom in on it. And these these windows have like different, zoom in focuses or whatever. It's just odd. They're like, this is AI, right? We ran it through AI generators. It looks like AI. There's a bunch of spots there. It's really weird. And Wizards doubled down. This is the doubling down. We understand confusion by fans given the style being different than card art, but we stand by our previous statement. This art was created by humans and not AI. And that didn't go well. Very lead balloon, if you will. And so many high-profile artists began to then immediately say, I'm not working with Wizards anymore. This includes Dave Raposa, as well as Jason Rainville. Yeah. These are not unknown names.
Not small names.
These are big names with lots of influence. And, basically said, look, if you're all going to start pushing this AI stuff, we can't go along with it. And so instead of tripling down, thank God, Wizards did basically say, look, we shouldn't have done that. They say, we made a mistake earlier when we said a marketing image was not used, was not created using AI. Mea the culpa. We did it. We're sorry. And so I have to read on for more elsewhere. As our diligent community pointed out, it looks like some AI components that are now popping up in the industry standard tools like Photoshop crept into our marketing creative. Crept is an interesting word. Even if a human did the work to make the overall image, while the art came from a vendor, there's another, it's not us guys, it's a vendor. Yeah. It's on them to make sure they're living up to their promise and so on. And they are going to refrain from using AI generative tools and stuff like they've already said. And they're going to evaluate how they work with vendors so they can make sure that this never happens again. And they did an official announcement on the website. This came out like on Sunday. Like people were working over the weekend on this, y'all, to basically come in and sort of stop the fire. Like at this point, artists were getting seriously pissed.
There's a lot of equivocation going on in this statement, but at least there's a statement. You're right. They didn't triple down.
Yeah.
I don't know that they fully retracted. The equivocation makes me feel like they kind of stood pat a little bit. Yeah. They're like, oops, we did an oopsie and it's someone else's fault, even though it's our Twitter account and our ad and our images.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No,
like,
it's
I have
just,
a lot
it's
to say on it.
frustrating. It's and we all have a lot to say. And the joke this week, spoiler alert, is about AI. The title this week is about AI. This is a big deal. This has been a big deal in all of our lives for a very long time, being creatives, right? I live in Los Angeles. The writer strike and the actor strike, a big part of that was about AI. The special effects industry is worried about AI. The voiceover industry, ladies and gentlemen, most of your YouTube like ads rolling before you click on a video are gonna be AI generated, if they aren't already, well within the next 5 years. It is, you're the only voices that are going to be real in advertisements are going to be like national campaigns anymore. And then those are going to go to Matthew McConaughey selling you a Lexus, not to some guy with a voice or some person with a voice. So AI is a huge issue in all of our lives personally. And to see a company that, has stepped in it and has been frustrating, and we've gone through a bunch of debacles with, but usually we come out on the other side and we say, oh, we can never quit you, Wizards of the Coast, even with your open gaming license debacles and your calling of the Pinkertons and your having ruined Magic 2 to 3 times a year for the last 30 years and your 30th anniversaries and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Usually it is all right, that's fine. It's just a straw. I'm sure the camel is fine. And that's not gonna be the answer forever.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I would give a different perspective here. I do think, obviously, they were in the wrong. So I'm not saying they're not. So regardless of what I say after this point, I do agree that they still screwed up. I'm giving a little bit of slack to the person on the social media account. Now, I will say this: they should have double checked before doubling down, right? That was the mistake.
That was definitely a mistake.
But the way the system works, they probably is, and I'm sure for the history of this account, have just been handed things that have already been through checks or whatever at some point,
right? And
they just post it, and then they just follow up and talk to people as per their job. So I don't think that person is an expert probably on AI art or whatever. They probably just went, hey, I'm told this is good. I'm supposed to post this. I know the system, right? But again, their mistake is shouldn't have doubled down on it. Should have asked questions first, ran it up the ladder, which they eventually did, obviously, but after you already started a hailstorm. So like that was a problem. The other is the vendor, which they do use outside studios, art houses, blah, blah, whatever. That's one that shouldn't even have been submitted. Like, I don't know why somebody from any type of vendor would have submitted something to a company like Wizards knowing that could be a problem, even if, again, it's mostly done by human hands or whatever, and then it has AI generative elements in it. Like, that's not something that should have happened, right? They should know better than that. Now, that being said, it sounds like Wizards also got mad at some people, like, so they're not going to work with some folks anymore, and now they're putting people in place to check artwork as it comes in, which, if anything, this is probably a benefit to other companies watching from the outside, because now they get to go, hey, we need to point some people to check on something. We need to double check these things, right? Because Wizards can have those types of mistakes, right? They can make $1 billion, you lose $100,000 from this mistake, whatever. It's not going to hurt you that much,
right? But
if you're one of these smaller companies that you might only have a total of $1 million to mess with, like, you can't have that kind of mistake, right? So.
Agreed.
Wizards is kind of setting the standard because they handle more artwork than damn near everybody else in the industry.
I want to speak quickly that I agree with you. It's not the social media person's fault. I will say that as soon as I saw the ad, I knew it was AI. And I think most people can tell. You look at an image and you know it's AI generated. You hear a voice and you know that it's AI generated. Right. The AI has not gotten good enough to artificially recreate something that sounds or it looks real.
Say to that a lot of people also think they can identify AI art and have already started attacking people who didn't have AI art.
That's fair.
And that's all. Yeah, the false positives have happened out there.
That's definitely a thing that's happening out there.
To me, I think the way to read this and the easiest way to see that Wizards is a very siloed company. This isn't a huge secret. People are in their little silos. They don't talk to other silos. If that's not your business, stay out of that silo. And so this, to me, the speed at which the social media team responded, double down, that was the problem, because
Yep.
somewhere in another silo, they like alarms were ringing, things were on fire, artists were super duper pissed, and that's why on Sunday of all days they came out and said, "Whoa, this is not right, and we shouldn't have done that," and yada yada.
The
yada.
Lord's Day,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
that was the big issue. Like I said, it's the doubling down, and
Right.
again, on some level, I kind of get it because they're going like, no, I know this is good because it came from our people. We're solid. Even though with that much backlash, you should have at least double checked. Been like, maybe this is the one time it's not. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but I at least understand from a human element.
Sure.
I'll at least say that.
Yeah, and mistakes are made, and no one's perfect, and we get it. So, you know, I hope that person wasn't raked over any coals, other than just saying like, let's never make this mistake again,
Right.
shall we?
I will say, from my own perspective, that there is a time and a place, and this might be controversial, and I might be in the wrong, but there is a time and a place for AI generated images.
Mhm.
And that time and place is when there's no money involved. When it is, you know, like I use AI in my home tabletop games,
Mhm.
AI images, or I'll use it to like try to inspire me, right? I will type in a prompt and I'll look at an image and I'll try to use that image to feedback and tell me more about what my idea is about. What it isn't able or shouldn't be used for is replacing the job of a human, whatever that entails, right? It's gonna, because that's what artificial intelligence is. And we live in a post-capitalist society, et cetera, et cetera. Ruben goes anarcho-communist again. So, but you get my point, right?
Well, I do.
Go ahead.
Well, all right. So what I would say is AI to me is not so much about generating things versus iterating things, if that
Yes.
makes sense. So imagine it's 2035, and for $4.99, you can have Brad Pitt star in The Mask. It's not Jim Carrey.
Mhm.
It's Brad Pitt now. It sounds like Brad Pitt. It looks like Brad Pitt.
Mhm.
All the effects look good. Nothing looks weird. Everything looks like it's natural. You can watch, you know, the Beatles being friends. Like, I want Monica to now be John, because you want, like, because you can.
Sure.
And they can do that. Like, would you pay for that service? I don't know. But that to me is kind of where we're starting of like, I want to see Will Ferrell be star of The Office from the start,
Right.
not like when he came in later. Have him be Steve Carell. Like,
Well,
I have two quick questions from the art perspective. Like, let's say somebody, and I don't know this answer. The answer could still be zero. But like, is there a percent of the art that would be okay to be AI generated? As the first question, right? Let's say
right, background.
you're an artist
In
working
what
on a thing,
sense?
and you might just be bad at drawing, I don't know, bears, right? Like, and you need a bear in the scene to make the image work the way you want. Like,
Mhm.
if there's
you-
no money
AI
involved, sure.
Well, there's also
I mean, they're an artist. They may eventually sell the piece. I don't know.
Right.
Right?
People
It's,
people
you know.
trace now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Sure.
AI is just automated tracing at that point. Like, they can overlay a bear image and trace it out, and that's just the
Now,
same
here's
thing.
another question, because part of the issue we have with AI is because it's scraping other artwork and training itself, right?
Right.
On artwork it's not authorized for.
Right.
But let's say you're a Disney, right? And you have this whole library of artwork, or even Magic for that matter.
Mhm.
But let's say Disney, because their stuff has a consistent look across everything, right? You want to just speed up making some Lorcana cards.
Mhm.
And you create a system that only scrapes your own artwork, and you make a Halloween Mickey Mouse to put on a card, right? Is that okay?
That is a really interesting question.
Because it's their own artwork,
right?
and they already own everything, right?
They have
Is
all
it
the
a
rights to
copyright
it.
infringement to plagiarize yourself?
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know this
That's
answer.
really
I have no dog
interesting.
in the fight. I'm asking legit question. Like,
And
I don't know.
I think if you look at people like Robert Liefeld or Jim Lee, who have such incredible, bodies of work, that you can ask, and that's part of what they do, give something in the XY style.
Yeah.
Jim could theoretically be like, give me a different Batman in a Jim Lee style, because he's drawn a lot of Batman. Like,
Yeah.
he's done that.
Or what if you even, again, use your own library and just like, hey, I want to do a different pose of a cable so I can put it on a poster behind me at a convention or whatever, right? Just to save him the time of doing the work, because he's already drawn cable 1,000 times.
Well, I don't
Right.
want to get too far into the weeds, but it's certainly a lot of questions, a lot of uproar, and a lot of backtracking.
I could talk
Yeah.
about this for
That's
days.
the stuff I started thinking about, though, because I don't know where we're going to draw the line.
And to me, I think about that like, would I pay to have so-and-so do such and such? Because that's where a lot of that deep fake, stuff is coming from. And if they can monetize it and the actor gets paid for it,
right?
Is that okay?
Before we move on, I do want to put a button on one thing, which is we do have another shoe to drop, which is copyright infringement,
right?
Which we haven't seen a big copyright case with AI yet.
They're trying.
Although that might be coming. That's coming very soon, from what I understand from the New York Times, where at least one of the big AI bots was scraping New York Times articles, all of which are copyrighted.
Oh yeah.
And every copyright infringement is $1,000 or more, $10,000. And so this would be a $1 billion, multiple $1 billion lawsuit if it went and happened.
They're trying to do that thing where it's like, well, I mean, we have to train it on something. So like maybe copyright isn't copyright when it comes to certain things. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The Ubering, if you will, without taxi certificates or whatever. It's like, oh, we just kind of made a taxi service. Sorry, maybe that's okay now, and it just becomes okay. So we'll see where that goes. We're going to move on to the first pick here. To gather the townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor, Mana Traders, the best tool to enhance your Magic Online experience. Use the code MAGICMICS for 12% off your next subscription with Mana Traders. Tell them we sent you. We appreciate them sponsoring the show. All right, so some fun stuff now. Let's go to some just good old-fashioned fun stuff, which is, as always, Maro's teaser. Mark Rosewater puts out these little teasers. We've been doing this since back in the day. I mean, back in Inquest, I would read articles like this that would tell you just a little tiny thing about the upcoming sets, just a few lines of text, some creature types and whatnot. I think this might have went away for a while, but he brought it back, and he's brought it back for years now, and I love it. And there's just things like, for example, a new enchantment subtype of case, right? Because you're going to solve the case. I think that's great. There's some amazing creature types in here, like Mole God, legendary.
Mole God is incredible. That's going to be a investigative digger of some kind.
Now, listen to me.
What if it's a god that just happens to be the mole in the story that knows who got killed?
Ooh, I also like that.
Look, there's an artifact creature, Cluefish, and if that is not a red herring.
I actually already thought.
Oh, red herring as a cluefish.
I will riot. I will riot if they don't do that. Unbelievable. So I'm hoping. Good. Yeah. So murder is in the set, which I thought was kind of low-key hilarious.
No surprise.
But the card names like Airtight Alibi and Deadly Cover-Up. I mean, I love that stuff. I think it's great.
Very good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Private Eye is a homunculus.
That'd be kind of cool.
He's got one
and only. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, all cards you can collect to make money on, because there's green cards you can have any number of in your deck, and we know those are always worth something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So congratulations to Pharmacist Judge, who happens to be in the chat. They are a Judge Foundry level 3. Let's go.
Wonderful.
Very, very nice. They're working on L4, but rocking L3. So I'll
moving up from REL Axed. I'm kidding. I know you're not like a judge. But yeah, you see Pharmacist Judge on all the Loading Ready Run streams as well.
Yeah. Lovely dude. Fantastic member of the community. All right. So moving on here to something a little bit more interesting in some ways, which is Magic Online. Magic Online is a weird beast. And in fact, it seems to only going to get weirder as time goes on, because as the separation of Arena and Magic Online just continue to drift and things continue to kind of go off into the distance, they do some strange stuff over there from time to time. And one of the things somebody noticed for Ravnica Remastered, which is they are selling half of the duels, the allied guilds, one of each of these lands in the old border for $40. So there's your $8 a land, and the enemy guilds again for $40. So for $80, you get one copy of each. So it's they don't put these things in like their treasure chest or whatever. That's like the only way you can get these styles, as I understand it. And feel free to correct me in the chat if I'm incorrect on that. But yeah, the idea that like, hey, you can get these for $80. You can buy singles on Magic Online in ways that even Arena doesn't sell you direct cards like this. They sell some styles, but if you don't have the card, you don't get the card with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those ones that I'm kind of like, it's fine. Like, I mean, you can still get the regular versions if you need to play with them. If you've been playing Magic Online for any significant amount of time, you probably have the Shocklands anyway. So this is just if you just want to style your stuff up. Like, I'm fine. If you want to pay for cosmetics, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Now, granted, you could argue that there are cosmetics that you buy on Arena that are very similar to that. But again, they also don't give you the cards. So I think that's the big difference. Even when we're talking about Marvel Snap, if you buy a Marvel Snap thing and it's got a variant, you're getting that card. You'll have to open that card later again or whatever, but you still get the card. So just interesting note there. We're going to move on here to some desperate ravings. Goodness gracious. This got some weird amount of pushback. Dude by the name of Sam Rolfe said he has a new initiative. He's going to run a Pro Tour testing team for Chicago. Entries $300. He'll be running interviews for all applicants, which he says to mainly get out bad actors, and keeping the tweet short to see how he's going to run the testing environment. And this is interesting because, you know, this is paying your way to be a part of a testing team for a large event. And beyond, like, I've paid a coach and I've had some paid help in that regard, I've never really seen anyone kind of come out and say, look, we can work together, but there's going to be a fee involved.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I had with it. Like, he seemed to go on about, like, the testing process or the testing environment.
Mm-hmm.
But why not just tell people what they're getting for the $300? You know, that was my thing. Like, are we going to be renting a place to, like, the week leading up to it? So you want everybody to cover their portion of the Airbnb? Do you have a deal with a sponsor that's going to help people get some singles for their decks? Like, or is it just $300 for the convenience? I mean, like, I don't know.
$300 for the privilege, I'm guessing.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the issue. Just if there's something coming with the $300, sell me on the $300, right?
Right.
Telling me about the testing environment, that's fine. Everybody's going to have a testing process, and people are going to figure out who's better at draft or not, or whatever. That's fine. Like, but kind of sell me on, like, okay, why is this worth the $300? Like, that's the part that was missing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with them charging. That's fine. But is the value there for the $300? That's the thing.
Right. He's talking about the testing is online until the PT, so they'll be putting hours in up until the event. It is not a testing house. Talked about the bad actors thing, and they'll be fielding limited and constructed experts to do meetings with the team, and a video later to give more details. So we'll see. We've seen LSV came out and was just like, it's like, I know people are dunking, but, like, you know, it's not the craziest thing in the world to pay for the privilege to be as a part of a unique special club or whatever. Yeah,
this doesn't strike me as a thing that would, like, I'm not getting irrationally angry at this. This does feel like a thing that people would be willing to pay for. And if you wouldn't, then don't.
My issue, though, is the way he presented it. I think he left himself open to look like he's just greedy, right? Like, oh, you're just paying. I'm making money just to give you the privilege of being in my group, right? An
explanation of services or a resume of finishes would have been helpful.
Or he even could have said, like, hey, I'm hoping to get 10 people, and I'm going to use this money to pay for our other experts, so they will put together all the graphs or all the testing charts or whatever, right? So you're saying, okay, that money's paying for somebody else's time, so I hopefully get better results, right? Even that would have been fine. But I think he just left it so open to interpretation. People immediately, because it's Twitter, jump to the worst case scenario of just this dude being greedy instead of, like, trying to lift other people up.
Right. And, you know, this, as I understand it, you know, Sam has something of a resume, and I believe he's played at Worlds and things. So it's not like he's a chump or nobody or newbie or whatever. Right. But there's also a certain panache that, like, I feel like if Reed Duke had done something like this, no one would have, like, dunked. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have dunked on them. Like, oh, I got to pay $300. I'll be part of Reed's thing.
There was a social capital kind of issue here where if it was someone that the Twitter community either knew more or had a more favorable image of, this would not have immediately been jumped to the worst possible reason to do a thing. And that's one of the functions of social media, is to assume the worst in everybody. I mean, it's not like Sam Rolfe isn't a known entity. Like you said, he's played at Worlds.
He's got a resume, you know.
So, you know, again, I don't see a problem.
But there's a difference between just putting out the open offer and saying, okay, and then explaining whatever the situation. Okay, I'm going to take a week off leading up to it, so you get my undivided attention. I'm going to do all this preparation. Like, this is going to cover my work expenses, where I give you all my time and attention to help you get better results, whatever, right? just
And I
sell
think
that
that
$300. That's it.
I think that if that's available, awesome. And I think that it should be available. If I were going to pay $300, I would ask for that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it needs to be published.
Right. I think the question, basically the thing is that Sam would need to have sold it in a much better, more concrete way versus LSV or Reed Duke, who would just sell out. Like if LSV is like $300 to be on my PT testing team, you'd have been sold out. You wouldn't have time to dunk it. People already signed up for it. You'd have been over. Like it's just, it's that difference of I know / understand this person / who is this clown or whatever. It's like, dude, there's not clowns. They're just not as well known.
It's the same reason when I've had people pay me for some YouTube help, people are wondering why my prices are so low. Because I'm like, I don't have that same recognition that somebody like, hell, if Mr. Beast came along and was saying, I'm going to help you be better at YouTube, he could charge $10,000 an hour and people would pay it, right? Like, I'll charge you $35 and that seems more than fair, right? You know what I mean? That just makes it worth my time. That's about it. So like, there's a big difference there.
So we got to travel back to, gosh, was it 2008? I think it was 2008 because I'm an old man now. And in 2008, I got the privilege, thanks to winning the community voted me as a storyteller for the Invitational. So I got to go to the Invitational event, which was, they don't do it anymore, but they used to. 16 players would play weird, wacky formats, and the winner got to be on a Magic card. These days, the World Champ does, which makes more sense, but whatever. The point of this is, if you go back and you watch the Magic show, and my first ever Magic show that ever goes to a pro tour, that ever has a pro in it, like I was just interviewing people that I used to play with in local groups and whatever. But if you go to the first one where I'm in Spain, I'm in Valencia, the first question I asked every pro was, is Tarmogoyf too good?
Yeah.
Is Tarmogoyf just too good? And you had some classic responses like Zach Hill saying it just attacks and blocks, which was classic at the time. But we have turned a corner today that we must note, because I'm telling you, we're full circle in many ways in this world. And when the Goblin Shaman token from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty cost more than a Tarmogoyf, ladies and gentlemen, I have seen Tarmogoyfs worth hundreds of dollars, hundreds plus of dollars before it got stupid. And it literally, from Fatal Push to today, from Fatal Push to the Goblin Shaman token is worth more. That's a fall. That's a serious.
There's really two issues there, though. One, at this point, Tarmogoyf almost doesn't show up but in like 1 or 2 decks anymore. Like it's just where before it was like half the format was playing Tarmogoyf, right? The other is that I would venture to guess there's probably, I don't know if it would be wrong to say like 10x more Tarmogoyf out there than that Goblin Shaman token.
That's fair.
In the world.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it just sort of goes to show that if there's a token that is worth what used to be, the ruler of the format, the creature that they could always put in the Modern Master sets that would always drive people wild, the foil in the foil in the GP top 8, that was picked over the removal spell and everyone lost their mind. That's a whole thing. It's not anymore. And the king has basically been completely dethroned, and it's a page turn. That's all I'm saying.
But we had like 4 years in a row we printed Tarmogoyf or something at one point, because it was in like every Modern Masters. It was in some like special thing. I think there was a promo version. There was a lot of Tarmogoyfs made in a small window of time.
Yeah, so, there are 10 printings of Tarmogoyf.
Yeah,
there is 1 printing of this Goblin Shaman token.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, it's crazy that a token is that expensive, though, for sure.
Absolutely. So to what I felt were probably my favorite topic of this evening.
Oh no! Oh God!
There was a pretty small turnout for the Star City Games events over this past weekend. There were, from what I understand, there's a lot of vendors, not a lot of people. And when that happens, it gets a little awkward and or sometimes uncomfortable. But there were some people going like, hey, is this weird? Like it only at the $20,000 event has 231 players. Based on entries alone, it's underwater. Like it's like 17K worth of entries, something like that. Got $60 a head. So that's an issue. And Cedric kind of went on this thing where he's like, why is this happening? And he came back saying that there was an amount of marketing that wasn't happening anymore like it used to. And particularly there were no feature matches at events like used to. And for what it's worth, I'm not saying that any or all of this is wrong, but I would say I feel like there was a giant missing component that he didn't talk about. We'll bring up here in a second. So what he said was, when you give people a reason to show up, when you have their deck lists on the website, when you have feature matches that they can go back and watch later and show their friends and family, when you have a leaderboard that they can care about and or attend events so they can, move up that leaderboard, that's a thing. Okay, that's great. Kind of generally as usual with Cedric, he brings a sports analogy into it, but whatever. He's like, look, the marketing has lessened dramatically. The need is lessened dramatically. If you don't give that kind of sort of interest and attention, you're not going to get people to go, okay, come here for a second. I'll let y'all know a secret. At one point in time, over 10,000 people were subscribed to SCG Premium. Over 10,000 people. So
Premium. Like the website.
Like the SCG, the Premium.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yep. Remember you used to pay for standard content? You remember you don't do that anymore? You don't pay for 60-card constructed content? In fact, people have cut 60-card constructed content almost entirely across the board. In fact, I, at Cool Stuff, am paying for 60-card constructed content when I could pretty probably easily make the call that I should not be doing that. But that is gone. So there's a whole ecosystem of people who care deeply about all that. And it was weird that he didn't mention that at all, because it was huge. It was giant. It fueled literally the careers of these Magic players that you've heard about, the Jerry Thompsons and the Patrick Chapins. They didn't exist without that premium, without that happening, without being able to pay those rates to get people that hyped to work into that ecosystem. That whole thing works together. And to be like, well, if you just brought back coverage, or you just brought back a leaderboard, or you just brought back an image in the footer of an article or whatever, that's not going to work, because there's an entire ecosystem that was built up over time. Premium, they went this way over time, making people care, giving people reason to care, giving people the hype, to the point where then the pandemic just absolutely just slammed it and bashed it to pieces, and it's never recovered, not even close.
I mean, I do think there's something in what you're saying, because you had a marketing group that was targeted, right? Which is always powerful. But there is something to be said from all right, it's just cash at a tournament. You know what I mean? There's no excitement. There's no way for me to get notoriety. There's not a 15 minutes of fame. Mm-hmm. There's nothing attached to it. And are you going to get people to drive more than 3 hours to show up for something like that? Mm-hmm. Right? It's nice to be able to go and play and win some cash, but there's nothing to even talk about afterwards. There's, like you're saying, there's no ranking system. I don't have anything to show to anybody because I made top 8, but where's it going to show up at?
There's no in-store programs that are wrapped up.
To my knowledge, there's not even a real tournament review article when the events happen anymore.
So maybe a top 8 photo, maybe a winner photo.
So I'm so you don't even get that. So why? It's unless just you want to compete for the money. Mm-hmm. Why are you and your friends showing up? A carload of people to go to these things, right? That's what you've lost. It's kind of what happened. I mean, it's kind of what's fueling Magic Cons in a way. It's you're getting to show up and do all these fun things. There's all these moments, and you get to interact with all these content creators, and you show up on all these things online and blah, blah. And there's no money. You know what I mean? It's the experience of the thing. And right now, you're providing cash, but no experience to go with. There's no commentary. There's no feature matches. It's literally just a tournament with cash at the finish line. This is
like when I tried to explain why, what commercials are when I was getting into marketing to my grandparents. And it was just so what do you do? And it was well, have you seen Mad Men? And they're kinda, but I don't really get it. I don't understand. I was have you ever bought a thing because of what it's named? It's very difficult to explain to people why putting money into advertising makes sense, because what they see is the advertising department loses money, period, full stop. Yep. It's all the other departments that make money, because money goes into the advertising department, black magic happens, and poof, we have more money than we used to. And then they stop doing that and they go, we have less money now. That's weird. I don't know.
But here's the thing, though. Depending on what school of thought you follow, anybody in advertising tells you it takes anywhere between 5 and 7 times for somebody to see about your product, event, thing, whatever, before they commit it to memory or decide to make a purchase. So if you tell me, hell, and honestly, not gonna lie, totally forgot SCG Cincy was even happening. Like, I remember it being mentioned once in like November, but then that was it. After that, I forgot about it. So,
and so for example, MTG Packfoils noted that they dropped, SCG did put up a tournament recap on Wednesday, today. You remember, Ruben? Like, you couldn't leave the venue until that last bit of coverage. All the deck lists were up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we had people who were there each and every weekend who worked many, many long ass days. I mean, coverage costs you about $15,000 an event. Like, that's just what it costs after all is said and done. And it's not just that one time. You can't just be like, well, here's $15K. Let's hope it works out at the end. That's when you have people on salary and they're actually have, livelihoods and insurance, and they have the whole thing and pay time off. And like, it's the whole thing. So I'm telling you, there's an ecosystem. There were gears within gears that were turning. And it's not just per se the marketing, but it was, there's
it was the whole thing.
But
it was the machine.
Here's the thing: to not just take shots at them, but even looking at the article, it's 2 deck lists from the winner of the 20K and the 10K, both modern. One from somebody who won the CEDH event,
right?
And there's kind of not much else. I mean, there's some further mentions of some other stuff that happened there, or whatever. But I mean, unless you're one of the people who won, is that going to be something exciting for the majority of people that win?
But now the follow-up question, the actual $50,000 question is, does Star City Games care? Does a tournament organizer care? Does Magic the Gathering care when a tournament is watched less, when the stars of their game are less famous, when they are still selling as many cards or producing as much product as they are now? Because I don't know how the business of Star City Games is doing. I don't know how the business of Channel Fireball or any of these other retailers is doing right now. I don't know how. I mean, Magic seems to say that they're making money.
Oh yeah, people are still making money on Magic. That's not the problem.
So what is the benefit, bottom line, to the company of a popular tournament series?
Sure. And the fact that they've tried to branch out into other games and kind of have that sort of like the sort of a tent that everybody can come into, which is great, but it does kind of water down some of the things that are offered. Ultimately, I just feel like there's the different things that all work together, including in-store programs, which you mentioned briefly, Cedric did. The vast readership of strategy articles, not just on Star City, a bunch of different places, and people. There was no Patreon. You know what I mean? There was pay $5, get premium. This is how you learn about Magic, and that's what happened. And a lot of people got really smart about a lot of really cool little aspects of high competitive play. And
but you know what you could have done? You could go to several of these creators or people that are popular in the formats that you're running or whatever, and be like, hey, here's $500. Can you give me a couple of promos this week on your podcast or your YouTube videos, or make a TikTok short, talking about the format, and give us a plug or whatever.
Right.
And they probably would have done it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have to spend a lot.
Yep. It's a whole thing, but either way, I thought that was just something I couldn't not talk about.
Yeah.
So talking about a little bit of player frustrations and things, there's a post on Blogatog that said, hey, are recent events indicative of an intent to slow down releases, or should we expect things to proceed at their current pace for the next couple of years? What can I, as a consumer, do to say, hey, could you please slow down? And, he's
question.
Right. And they said, I really want Wizards to release fewer products, but not at the expense of other non-consumers. And he said, complaining here is helpful. This is a message that is being communicated by many players, and it is being conveyed by me and others that interact with the public to the people making calls about how many products we produce. Okay, so hold on. I'm trying not to be too cynical, okay? I'm trying. I really am trying. But unless you can prove that making less products is going to make just as much, if not more, and it better be more, but if not more, they're not going to slow down. This is the most standard, typical, player going I can't believe you do this, hand you a $20 bill. You are just the absolute worst kind I've ever seen. Here's 100. I can't believe this. Give me that booster back over there. You know what I mean? Complain all day. They're not going to slow down. You keep buying it. We've seen this year after year. 5 years ago, everyone lost their mind over that crap, over the collector boosters, and so they just kept making more stuff. And they made more stuff, and you bought more stuff. And as much as we complain about it, and we're drinking fire hoses, you keep buying it. I'm sorry.
Also,
you just keep buying
reading
it.
between the lines here, though, Maro also doesn't like producing this many things.
I agree with that.
Not.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
killing him.
If I'm reading
It's
this
probably killing
answer,
him.
complaining here is helpful.
It's
That's-
not. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying it's
no,
not.
I know you're not being a dick.
Right,
and-
it's the obelisk of Hasbro. They don't give a damn. Like, they just don't care.
I mean, even just within Wizards, I mean, if you look around and say, like you're saying, we're making this much money, right?
Mhm.
You're telling me you don't want this, but then we give you this cool Lord of the Rings thing, and it's the best-selling thing ever. Right?
Yeah.
We give you this really sweet Doctor Who thing, and we can't even keep that stocked. We have to get other printings out the door as they're going out, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's hard. Like, it's tough, right? Because and don't get me wrong, I think, yes, I would like for there to be fewer releases.
Sure.
But at the same time, if everything is selling, like, how do you tell somebody not to keep selling them?
The number, look, this is, the altar of capitalism. The number must go up. And if you're telling whoever is in charge, hey, the number might not go up, even go up as much. No. That's the wrong direction. What are you doing here? Why would you even come to me with a plan that makes us less money? Like, it's just not going to fly as much as we may not like it. And again, it's because everyone keeps buying it. When's the last time they really had something explode in their face? 30th anniversary edition or whatever? Lord, that scared the hell out of them. They'll never do that again in a
wasn't even
million
like
years.
a retail available thing, though.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a mass available.
That wasn't even like a mass voting with dollars. If anything,
Yeah.
maybe the mass voting is somewhere between Dominaria Remastered and Commander Legends.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
between those two sets, everything kind of went crazy and not in a good way. So, that's about the closest it can get because until
I
then,
would say probably among mass available sets that we probably don't get more, but we're probably not getting less.
we're
either.
not getting less.
This is
Y'all are
probably just the
crazy.
cadence we're going to have for a while.
It's just
Now,
not.
You can, like we talked about in the pre-show, like you can make some products better
Mhm.
and you can change the offerings in them or whatever, and you can move the meter up that way
Right.
without introducing new products, but just have to wait to see, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough question. And again, I'm trying not to be the craziest cynical guy ever. It's just seriously. Last bit here, there was a bit here that I don't think I copied and pasted correctly in that case. There was a video from the professor that talked about a Universes Within booster set. And I'm going to put this under Going Infinite, where we talk about silly stuff that may or may not happen. And he was noting that, look, we've got these Warhammer cards. There's a whole bunch of them. We got these Doctor Who cards. There's a whole bunch of them. We've got Transformers cards. We still got, I think, with the Street Fighters did get replaced, but we got others, Universes Beyond cards that have not been properly created in universe. Laura Croft, for example. But eventually, in Lord of the Rings, eventually, what happens 3 years from now, 5 years from now? They're not reprinting those sets. They can't reprint those sets. They can't kind of realistically put them into boosters like you can the Secret Lair stuff, because the Secret Lair stuff's 5 cards at a time, 6 cards at a time. That's fine. But when it's 60 plus cards and 80 plus cards, what are they going to do other than perhaps make a huge Universes Within set that has the Magic in-universe versions of all of these cards that are now starting, going to be worth $100, $200, whatever, when people kind of realize they kind of printed reserve list cards and didn't tell everybody.
Yep. I was explaining this a long time ago. Like, the minute I saw we were going to get 2 or 3, I guess we'll call them full set Universes Beyond products available. Now, I'm calling full set even being a full set of commander decks because it's still like,
Sure,
100 new cards or whatever.
Right.
But there's no other way to do it. Eventually, you have to make a product where some reasonable number of those are available, right? Because, and now that may not be next year, but it might be 2 years from now or 3 years from now. Because at this point, we're already going to have Lord of the Rings.
Right.
We're going to have soon to be Fallout, right?
Fallout, yeah.
We got Doctor Who last year. And we got Warhammer the year before that. That's already, if we just took the most popular 30, 40 cards from each of those, that's already like a half a set worth of cards. Right.
Oh
So
yeah, and plus the Marvel,
easily we could do it.
all
Yeah.
of the Marvel stuff they're about to do. Like again,
And I guarantee you, at least one of those Marvel offerings is going to be a booster set.
oh, they're multiple. They've already said multiple, over like
Yeah.
years or whatever. Like, man, they are going to go
Yeah.
so deep. It's going to be crazy. And it's going to be great. And I'm very excited about that. I think that's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Can't wait to jump into it. But I also recognize that they're kind of making these weird walled gardens of like, you realize as we get further away from that walled garden, we can't get back those cards without something sort of dramatic happening in order to make it happen.
But here's an interesting thing though, which is why I don't think it's bad, is they had to find some way to give themselves some reprint equity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we've talked about it before, as much as we like stuff like doubling season, you can only print that so many times before doubling season's now like a $15 card.
Sure.
Right? Now, we might be like 3 more prints away or whatever, but still. I think eventually nobody's that excited to open a doubling season anymore, right? You still want one, but it's not going to drive the booster value. So at some point, you have to find a way without destroying the value of everybody's cards to making them all $5 or whatever or less. Sure. On the popular cards.
We just need Goblin tokens.
Yeah, exactly.
From the Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
But you have to create something, right? That you can still print down the road, that still have some desirability.
Right.
And this was one way to do it, right? And you make fresh new cards that in 36 months or whatever are now, worth $30, $40, $50. You put a handful of them in a set, and now people are excited to buy it.
Right. And, that would still requires a lot of work. You got to do all that artwork, all the in-universe names and what they means, all the flavor text and all that good stuff that goes along the other set. And I can also understand how it's, this is an unknown, right? Like if you're inside of Wizards, you don't have anything to prove this is going to work. Like you don't even know this is going to make it, make stuff happen. Are people going to get excited about this set at all? Or should this be like a remastered thing that you brand it that way? Oh,
Universes Beyond Remastered is a great idea. Write that one down, book it, put every random garbage transformer and secret lair. Yeah. I love that.
That'd be fun.
But here's the thing, cool. If they all get new artwork or new treatments or whatever, that's actually an exciting product.
I think so.
Or even if you include stuff from Commander decks from at this point 7 years ago that we haven't reprinted or whatever, right? Like that's a chance to get those in there if you want to, right? That would be a fun reprint product. Like whereas here, we all had different things to say about Dominaria remastered or whatever, or now even the latest one,
right?
But this would be something of still newer reprints that people don't necessarily have a lot of, right? So it's more of an exciting product, I think, overall.
Yeah, and this is one of those things that it's going to take a year or two out from these big Universes Beyond releases to really start to feel that, like, God, have you seen how expensive so-and-so card is? Or how much does Everybody Lives cost now? Like that's going to start creeping, and it's going to, they're going to stop. They're going to be out of print, and it's going to start creeping. You're going to say, well, they now have $100 mythics they could put in this set. They should probably do that.
Yeah, that'd be the thing when you start seeing people in discussions or in articles talking about, oh man, this number of rares and mythics from Lord of the Rings are worth $30 plus. This many from Doctor Who are worth $50 or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that's when you start getting down that road to needing reprint.
Just remember that they didn't reprint Edgar Markov in any of the recent
sets,
and it's hilarious.
It's gone up $1 billion.
It's like $140.
It's $140. What the hell's going on? Like I was freaking out last week.
The Judge one is like $250.
It's still stupid.
So we finally got one.
They didn't put him in Commander Masters. How dare you? Seriously. First of all, how dare you? Anyway, let's move on here. Let's turn the corner to the finisher. AI is once again in the news. As it seems, we are always discussing artificially intelligenced images, voices, and most recently advertisements. AI should be doing the jobs humans don't like, not trying to make art. But for the sake of this joke, let's pretend to be the billionaires making money off of ChatGPT, Midjourney, and all the rest of the bots. So give me the pitch for the next attempt for AI to take over MTG, Ruben.
All right. I'm going to try to get through this without retching. MTG has been having issues with their next Netflix pitch. So let the robot overlords do it. Let me introduce you to Mana Flow, the Convergence Chronicles, a name I actually got from an AI generator, which while it sounds like a deep fake, because it is, it might actually get produced for once for a Magic Netflix show.
Lord, Power
That
Dragon.
is a terrible name.
It's awful.
All right. So we ask AI to create some magic cards, and the first ones were a color shifted Mizzix Mastery without flashback, so not nearly as good. An angel that doesn't actually work within the rules, which no surprise, and a card called Time Warp that takes an extra turn and already exists. So yeah, the bot needs a little bit of work still.
Gonna need a little tinkering in there.
During the pre-show, I was doing all of these prompts, and the first 3 that came up were horrific. They were so bad.
Horrific. Look, we can't be too far from some mega mogul trying to pawn off an AI-generated magic set. Introducing Arcane Realms, a mesmerizing Magic the Gathering set set in a world of ancient mysteries and undiscovered magic. Players will navigate through elaborate arcane academies, face off against legendary beings of immense power, and uncover the true nature of reality itself. And if that set doesn't sound new or exciting or original to you, that's because it isn't. It's AI trying to make creative things boring.
That sounds like garbage.
Yeah, it was awful. And it went on for like 4 paragraphs. I told it to make a magic set, and it was like, here's a bunch of buzzwords. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's like the most generic. That's like if I was 13 trying to give a description of something for a fantasy novel or something. Like, it's terrible.
Lots of adjectives for no good reason, essentially. It's very
I will
bad.
defend Robo Rosewater. Robo Rosewater is not an AI. Robo Rosewater is putting magic cards through translators a couple of times so that they become funny.
It's kind of made itself into that at this point, right? Like Robo Rosewater at one point was. Oh no, that's Rosewater Stone. That's right. That's different. Robo Rosewater is randomly
Rosewater
generated
Stone
cards.
is great.
Yeah, Rosewater Stone's great. And look, Robo Rosewater was neat, for a very long time. And I think they stopped when they messed with the APIs of Twitter. Yeah. But either way, it was silly. It was fun. God help us all for AI. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things magic. Thank you, Power Dragon.
Hey, good to be here as always. Don't forget, leave those reviews and 5 stars and all that good stuff.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Ruben.
The funniest thing I heard about AI recently was that dealing with an AI is like dealing with the Fae, which is they don't have the right number of fingers. Like, they reflect wrong. You shouldn't give them your information and your name. It's very funny. But yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully I will be a human who can keep producing things.
Look, man, if in 2050 you're like, man, you know what we need? We need to bring back Evan Irwin from 2020 and have him chitter chat about stuff. Maybe there's enough out there that you could process all of my podcasts into a virtual me, and I can hang out with you till the end of time. Weird, and then we can have all 3 virtual versions of us talking about stuff.
It's even more weird if I know the subject. Right? Like, if I know the person, it gets even creepier. I don't know if
There was a time when I was well known enough that someone was threatening to make a parody account of Ruben Bressler on Twitter, and it was going to be Mox Ruby, MOCKS, and that would have been great. But that's not AI generated. That's a creator making fun of me.
See, there you go. So let's turn the corner here, move to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, Power Dragon, and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mike subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. We'll join us here next week. Same time, same place for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.